Hey, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to look at Nvidia Omniverse, which, whoa, what the heck is that? Well, it is exactly this, real-time collaboration through any sort of means of 3D models, anything like that, you name it, tons of different programs. So the idea is that you can put all of this together in one program. There's a lot to this, but what we're going to focus on in this video is just the setup. And as we set it up, you'll start to get an idea more of what this program is all about. The idea is that we can take everything that we have in any model, no matter where it is, and we can put it all into one for a number of different reasons, whether presentations, simulations, blah, blah, a ton of things. And so that's using a unique format, which is really what's making this possible. And that file format is called USD. And so I'm going to actually come over here to a different website, which is the development. And so you can download the beta here, and I'll leave all these links in the description below. Don't worry about that. But this is where we're going to be able to look at everything it can do. Before we get into it, if you happen to learn something, which this is brand new, I really hope you do, I hope you're excited by this, then please demolish that like button. It really helps me out quite a lot. Okay, so again, developer.nvidia.com, like this is everything, but it happens to be centered around Omniverse. And so I'm going to scroll down here and we can run through some of these things. So there's a lot to this, and I will say it's kind of complicated, but this is why I'm here, hopefully. So we have the Nucleus, which is kind of the center. It's basically the thing in the middle that's going to take all your models and then put it into this one place that you can see everything working. Connect is obviously what's going to connect all these pieces together through the Nucleus. Kit is basically creating your own applications and basically how you use and manipulate your models or data. Simulation, obviously we can create simulations with it, and as well as ray tracing renders, which is awesome too. And so here's this USD format, and it's pretty great. And I can see that the entire industry, architecture, entertainment, marketing, like there's a ton of different applications for this. And so I'm really thinking that this is going to start taking off and be more widely seen throughout the years to come, especially. So if we read this real quick, the fundamental representation of assets in Omniverse is Pixar. It's actually developed by Pixar originally. It's an open source universal scene description, which is what the USD format is. You're going to see a lot of that. While USD includes a file format, it's much more than that. USD is a powerful scene representation with an API that allows complex property inheritance, instancing, layering, lazy loading, and wide variety of other features. Really cool. Omniverse uses USD for interchange through the Nucleus database service, which is what we just looked at. So here's the Nucleus. It's the middle of everything. It moves. It takes everything, goes through the Nucleus, and then makes sure it's in the right format and all that. So there's a ton of connectors, which is the great part. And like I said, the Nucleus is in the center, but there's tons of different applications. Really, any modeling application that you probably use is able to go through this right now. And so here's the kit. You can create your own applications. In other words, you can manipulate the type of data you come in, what that comes in, what happens with that data when it comes in, like tons of different things. That's one of a million things you can do. There are extensions, of course, that go along with that. Tons of different things like that. We're not going to get into all that in this video, so don't worry about that. Obviously, simulations. This is cool. We love simulations. Maybe this isn't quite applicable to architecture, but there I can imagine are, whether it's rain, there's a ton of different simulations probably. And then these really nice renders and qualities, you've got ray tracing built in. And so if you look at all the partners, you can see immediately there's a lot of partners here, a lot of different modeling programs. You probably use one of these, and the great thing is that they all work with Omniverse already. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way back up here, over here, and we're going to download this open beta. So this is still in beta. There's a number of, I'm going to fill this out. And once we do that, we can submit, we can download it. And so this is just to get the launcher. So again, there's a lot of pieces to this. I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible, so please follow along and we can get through this together. So I'm going to fill this out and I'll be right back. And with it submitted, we can go and download this. I'm using Windows. We can download this for Windows. So this is just going to be the launcher. Again, once we have the launcher, then we can start getting into all the little pieces that go along with it. So here's the launcher. Yeah, this is all great stuff. We can continue here. Yep, that looks good. So here's the first kind of big thing to be taken into account. Settings. It says install is complete. Please provide a path where these apps will be installed. Now, you can choose to change this. I'm not going to, just because I don't want to mess with it. But it is something to take note as to where they are. They're in your basic folder, basic user folder, and then the app data. It's a bunch of temporary files basically. So just kind of know this. They all live in app data local, and then there's a ton of things there. So something to keep in mind. So we'll continue here. Do you want to install cache? Yep. Omniverse cache is extremely helpful in reducing repeat load times and improve the collaboration experience. I don't see why not. It seems like you'd want to do that. So here we go. We need to create an Omniverse account. And so I have already done that, so I will log in. So this is what you're going to see once you've logged in. So it'll take you through NVIDIA, you create an account, log in, whatever you need to do. That's perfectly fine. So here we are. We've set this news page. You can look at the news or not. We have library, which at this point I don't have anything installed. And you can see down here at the bottom left, it says required driver for Omniverse compatibility. Okay, well, we're not there yet. Exchange. So here's a ton of different things that we can download as far as applications. And then connectors. So these are something we'll get to. Nucleus here. This is where we want to focus on next, because we need to set up that thing, the Nucleus, that is going to be within the middle of everything. So, okay, let's go ahead and add local Nucleus service here. And we can see, again, we're looking at this server name and this location. It's all within my user profile, then app data, local, sure. So I'll click next, and then at this point, we need to make an administrator account. And so once we do that, we will be right back. So make sure you do that. And with that filled out, you can see the Nucleus is downloading. And now it's installing. So here we're then prompted with another login. And remember what we just created as far as the Nucleus goes. We had another kind of account. That's where our username and password is going to go right here. So what we can see here is literally everything that falls into, I'm going to maximize this, everything that is basically on this local host, basically on our computer, which is kind of interesting. At this point, of course, it's nothing because I have nothing installed, but we can see the user, we have our different folders of assets, all kinds of things. But again, there's nothing here yet. That's all. Of course, see the users, dark mode's cool. But we're going to come back to this. So something else I'm going to make sure of is that I have the required driver, and that's just simply going to take me to make sure I have the current driver, like one of the most current drivers that is applicable to my graphics card that's going to allow this application to work. Something to note, if you do not have an Nvidia graphics card, this is not going to be possible. And I should have led with that in the beginning of the video, but you need, not only do you need an Nvidia graphics card, but you need a Series 2000 or 3000, a card that says RTX, not GTX. You need RTX, RTX being ray tracing. So that's very important here. And so I'm actually going to upgrade my driver, and we'll be right back. So do that if you need to, but otherwise, obviously skip this. Okay, and at this point, we've got our Nucleus installed. We're good to go. We can obviously see all our folders here, but if you click this button here, this will actually take us to, I guess you could call it the browser version, which I actually prefer better. We're going to get the same admin and login. So we're going to go through these steps. Once we're logged in here, we can see the exact same thing. Imagine that. Yeah, so it's cool. I prefer this because it's in a browser and not quite like stuck in this launcher form. So whatever, not a big deal. So obviously, if you want to learn something, click learn. There's a ton of things that'll pop up here. We're not so concerned about that right now. And so let's go ahead and come out to the library. It says, well, we don't have anything in the library, so we need to go to the Exchange. So the Exchange here is where we can start to find everything that we might need. And so let's actually start with applications first, because at this point we have this, I guess, Nucleus set up, which is great, but we don't have anything else set up. Like I don't have anything installed in Revit or anything. So let's take care of that. What you can see from these applications is that some of them seem very specific and like pre-built in a way. So this Omniverse Marbles RTX, that was that preview video that we saw that was giving away like the RTX renders and animations. You can literally download the whole project basically, and that's where you do it here. But what we're most concerned with are the different applications that I guess we could import our own information and models into, and that would be this Omniverse Create, this Omniverse View, basically you can view everything. So those are some things that we're going to want. But before we even get that set up, I want to do this Omniverse drive. And so it will end up appearing to be as another drive on your system, which, whether you want to do that or not, I enjoy this because this is going to be something specific that is dedicated to Omniverse. And you can see it's downloaded, installing, and once it's done here in just a second, I'll show you what we're ultimately going to get. And once that's done installing, we can see this launch button. So we're going to click launch, and now we're going to get this other host. So if you looked at the local host here, you can see it's 8080. Basically, this is just, it's all working within our network. So this is nothing you need to change, but we're going to go ahead and sign in. And we can see this is important. So there's that exact same username and the server name we just had. And then drive letter, you can just, whatever you want. I'm going to use O because it seems to make the most sense. I will click OK. And here we go. If I pull over my documents here, I can see that there we go. There is Omniverse Drive. And we can see that it is literally directing me to all of these, folders and everything that we see here. It's just now no longer in my app data and all that, kind of gobbledygook back there in essentially the background of the user data. It is now a drive on my actual machine. It's a virtual drive, but it's just referencing that all of those folders, which is really nice. I don't have to dig through them all, and it's literally right there. So again, choose to do that if you want. I do like this because of how much I'm planning to use Omniverse. So that's cool. Just know that it's not actually a separate drive. I don't have like a separate full drive for it. It's just using data that's already a part of my system. Okay, cool. So we have that. That's great. So then let's go back to the applications. So as an architect, I am most interested in bringing in my 3D models into a scene, maybe doing renderings, maybe not, maybe just flying around. So we're going to get a lot of value out of Omniverse Create, especially. If we click on this, we can see what we're getting here, and it's quite a lot. Built on Omniverse Kit. Again, these are all applications, and the nice thing that I should have mentioned earlier is that if you get Omniverse Kit, you can literally make applications, and the applications that we see here are created with Omniverse Kit. And so Omniverse Create was actually made with Omniverse Kit. It's just so kind of weird back and forth stuff, but we care about Omniverse Create because we can bring all of our stuff in here. We get all of our models and everything. We can assemble, light, simulate, render scenes, a bunch of stuff, and we're using that USD in real time. It's all real time, which is fantastic. There's tons of things that we can do here that you can kind of think about this as a gaming engine. I don't want to say that it is a gaming engine because it's more than that, even though it has some of those types of features and capabilities. So that's important. So this is a large download, Omniverse Create, but I'm going to go back to the applications, and just to show you, I'll get Omniverse View. I'm not going to end up using this that much because it literally is only for viewing. So if for some reason you only want to view, then that's great. Now Omniverse Create does the same thing because you can view it, obviously, but Omniverse View is kind of meant more for just, hey, just look at it where it is right now. It's right here. It says a very simple, powerful visualization application for reviewing 3D design projects in stunning, physically accurate photorealism. So if you want this like real quick RTX ray tracing, like out of the box, we're going to go ahead and use this Omniverse View. So we'll try this first, but then ultimately go into Create because that's going to be where we're going to do the bulk of our work later on. Okay, so we're installing the applications that go with using the software, that basically what we're going to use as far as the software itself, which is the Omniverse Create. That's the main thing. But right now, we don't have anything that's going to get us through the Nucleus to Omniverse Create. And so where do we do that? Well, that's going to be in the connectors. And so when you click on connectors, we can see, okay, I hope by now things are starting to make a little more sense because I can literally see my Autodesk Revit connector. So that's what I need. This is going to now be visible within Revit. I can click send to Omniverse and all that, and then it'll end up going through the Nucleus, through these folders that we can look at later if we want to, but then end up in Omniverse Create, which is really important here. So I obviously want to install this because, hello, we're using Revit here. But I want to go back to connectors, and if there happens to be any other application that you use, like I have Rhino, I'll use that quite often as well, so I'd have that. If you want to use Unreal Engine, this can go like back and forth between Unreal Engine, which is a fantastic part of it. So like this is not a replacement to Unreal Engine. You can use it in conjunction with it, which is fantastic. And which is why I said this is not exactly a gaming engine. It's more of like managing data, managing models. Obviously, there's visualization to it and presentation, blah blah. But there's stuff like that. So you can utilize the power of Unreal Engine if you already know that to connect with Omniverse, which is great. The applications where I could see using this is if I have someone who's modeling something in Rhino, something very specific that's harder to model in Revit, they end up modeling that in Rhino. I have my documents and my building, base building, and everything in Revit. That can all go into Omniverse. But let's say I have someone else who's doing the renderings and really high quality stuff in Unreal Engine. Well, all of that can end up coming together in Omniverse, which is fantastic. That's the whole point here. Finally, we have all of those installed. And so with that, let's start up Revit. So I'm going to start up Revit 2022 here. And with this started, we should be able to see that we have a new add-in that is Omniverse. And then there are some things to go along with that because we have to do a little bit of setup just to make sure things are all connected with Revit at this point. And then we'll be on our way to actually sending things back and forth. So I will see you when Revit is open. And when you look at that, up at the top, we see an Omniverse tab, which is perfect. And whenever I click at this, I can see, all right, Omniverse view, I can send a view, I can publish a project, I can export as a prop, I can turn live sync on and off, connect, and you can see my account there, and then all these settings. So there's a lot here, potentially. And so we're first going to look at these settings, which they may or may not apply yet. So here we go. Send to view settings. Well, let's use our current view when we send it, or we can do something else. Anything else, whether it's a different view, anything like that. Do we want to include cameras? Do we want to include lights, vegetation, all this stuff? Use material mapping, use Autodesk materials. Export BIM data, that's great. This is all good stuff to see. Create, send to Omniverse output as a project or as a prop. Well, project's fine for now. So here we go. That's good. We're all good. When we click on About, we can see the build, the version, all that's nice. Okay, and so let's see what happens when we click Connect. Well, there is no 3D view in the document. Okay, let's go ahead and make a 3D view. I'm going to make a 3D view here. Here we go. And I'm going to choose Connect. And so when I get Connect, here we go. So what I've done here is opened a 3D model with actual content. So I'm going to come to my Omniverse, and then I'm just going to click Send to View. And we're going to see what happens. My guess is that, yeah, it's going to basically print the view, export the view, but then we should have Omniverse view just pop up and go. And that's obviously a hope from my end, but this is just a pure setup because there might be things that we need to troubleshoot. So here we go. Hopefully I'm going to get this popping up here in just a second, and we ought to be on our way. So look, there we go. So Omniverse view, great. Like I said before, I'm not like crazy excited about Omniverse view like I am Omniverse create. So we'll ultimately get to that. But I want to just get to the point where you're in Omniverse view or create, no matter what it is. So here, all this stuff. So finally, we are in Omniverse view. And once this truly loads, we can look at it all. So here we go. It is in there, and you will notice that it is rendering in real time. My graphics card is going crazy. I have no materials applied, which is why everything appears to be gray. But you can see that there's a significant amount of ray tracing, that's going on. We have these ambient occlusion, shadows, like all this looks really nice. We're starting to see some materials populate. Even the defaults that I had in from Revit are starting to populate. So, starting to get a good idea of what we can do here. Not that it's a bad program at all, but you can already tell it's kind of limited. So there's not a ton that I'm particularly excited about here. So this is just on draft quality. Obviously, if we wanted to preview more than that, we can. If we want a different quality, all kinds of stuff. We've got perspective. We can change the camera type. We can move to a different side, different views. This is really nice. Not that that's a huge deal. These are actually different views that I have in the project. But you can always move. You can change the camera, like interesting stuff. Not that this is the craziest thing we've seen before. We're familiar with Inkscape. We're familiar with Twinmotion. All this, the controls are kind of the same. They're obviously right here, but you can render like straight out of here, which is kind of cool. And that's nice if you want to quickly do that. You can render a movie. all kinds of stuff. So we're not getting into that in this video, but what I did want to show is over here at the right, you can see there's a show, hide, stage hierarchy. And so we've got this world and view. So when we expand the world, we can see that, oh, there's my actual like model coming in. There's my cameras and my geometry, my lights. Looks in this case are actually, they appear to be models or like categories. I see some materials here. They might actually, these are all materials if I remember correctly. Lights, I have a few lights in here. So, it's nice to see a program where the lights come in like you would expect, and that they literally show up. Now, it doesn't look that great, and we'll get to that in later videos, but we've got this whole world, and you can see all the BIM data did come in because I have all my information here that came directly from Revit, which, here's all the geometry, here's all the doors, here are all the categories broken down, which is really great. And this is the type of thing that we want to see whenever we go into new programs. We want to be able to manipulate the data and actually use it for what it is. In this case, it's BIM data coming from Revit. If we expand the view, we can see tools, and not much there because it's the view itself. So I guess the point of showing you that is that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and that you do get all the data, which is really great. So really cool. I like this. This is just the view. So whenever we go to Omniverse Create in a second, there's going to be a lot more that we can do with that, which I enjoy. But you can start to see how this is a bit more, it's a bit more advanced, basically kind of like an advanced Inkscape, if you will, because there's more that you can do with it, yet it's limited in that it's mainly just meant for flying around the model and rendering, which is perfectly fine. We have things like the sky browser, which is really nice. You can just immediately put in a sky if you want, which is really nice. So that's kind of it. Again, this is just draft quality. I'm not trying to make anything look all that amazing. We've got different viewport resolutions, all this. So ton of stuff here. So one other thing I wanted to show is this live sync. So up here at the right, you can see live sync is now on. I want to come back to Revit and then turn it on in Revit. And then we can turn this on here. And so with these side by side, and you've noticed I've turned live sync on here, and I've also turned live sync on here, I can literally do anything to these models. Like, let's just send the roof way up in the air, maybe just 20 feet in the air. Not a big deal. I'll press OK there, and we'll notice it flies up here. But now everything's loading, reloading, re-exporting, and then boom, we get it over here. And it looks as though we've lost the materials, but I think we just need to give it a second to basically reapply the materials, because again, it's in real time ray tracing, all of that. So my hope is that here in a second, we'll get all the materials back. But that's just a little piece of what you can do with all of this. This being Omniverse View, there's more that you can do with View itself, which I'm not really trying to explore at this point, but I want to now go into Omniverse Create, because you're going to see that there's a lot to it there. And what I ultimately end up doing is, this is just a setup. So I'm going to show you how to go from Revit to Omniverse Create, and then you'll kind of be on your own for now until we look into it more and make more videos. So when I come back to the launcher, and instead of being an Exchange, I go to Library. Remember before we didn't have anything installed, so it sent us to the Exchange. Well, now I can see there's Create, there's View, there's Drive, there's all these connectors, which is everything that we just installed. And so at this point, I can see Create here and then View. I can just simply launch Create from the browser here, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and we can start working with Create. So I'll see you in just a second when this is all loaded up. So here we are in Omniverse Create, and you can see it looks, fairly similar to what we saw before in View. We've got obviously the viewport here. We've got some of the similar icons, and we've got the world stage in here. But we have a lot more, obviously, because we see a bunch of files here, file structure. In fact, it's all of the files from my computer. But what we care about is this local host, or you can come down to that drive that we made, or whatever drive that you created. It's going to show the same information. But we can here see all the information that's going through Nucleus and ultimately ending up in this, Omniverse Create, which is cool. And so we need to go back to Revit and actually get something exported so we can deal with everything in Omniverse Create. So what I'm going to do now is actually publish this project, and it will end up in those file structures. So we've kind of seen all this before. This is a new project, so I want to put this in the projects folder, and then I'll just name it, test project, something like that. That's perfectly fine. You can see the format is USD. very good. And if we look at show publish options, this is going to be something we have seen before. This is the exact same thing, whether it's, use the current view, all of that stuff. So yeah, we want all this. We want to use the current view. Cool. And then I'll just click publish. And once this is published, then we can go into Omniverse Create and then access that published project right there. And then really all you would have to do as far as updating it, as far as I'm aware at this point, is that you basically republish it. We're kind of familiar with that with BIM 360, similar things like that. We're just updating it at that point. So here we are. And if I go to projects now, I can see there's test project and there's my test project USD. And so this is really great. I can literally open this and we can see that, yeah, it's opening this project, and look at that. It pops right up. And so I have create. Very cool. And you can see there's a lot that's loading down here at the bottom right, which you can't see because I'm in the way. There's a lot of things loaded, and again, this is all real-time stuff. So that's good to know. Literally, as I zoom in, things are loading up. There's a bunch of lights. There's a lot going on here, and the quality is not quite there as far as the materials because I haven't gone to that effort. But you'll notice here we have that same cache, and so I would recommend that you install the cache because it'll help reloading times and all that for all these models. But the live sync we have off. We can do the exact same thing that we did in Omniverse View, but with Omniverse Create, which is great. So really, you can look and see we have the same structure again, but this is where there's a lot more going on at this point because I can truly update all of these materials. I'm not going to get into any of that at all because there are parts of it that are quite advanced, but we were able to get into Omniverse Create quite simply because we were able to publish. So I'm going to go ahead and make this roof change again, and then we'll republish, and I'll show you what happens and how that would work, basically updating your model. So yeah, we're fine with this. So once that's done, I can go over to Omniverse and I'll just publish my project again. Projects there, test project, and then publish. And with that published, again, we just published that. All we have to do is come back to Omniverse Create, and we can see that there's my actual model here. It's kind of its own element here under the root layer. And what I can do is right click this and then just reload layer. And then we can see that's it. That's all it took to actually reload the change. Now, I have not dealt with the live sync in this case, but just like Omniverse View, it's going to work the exact same. Create is going to work the same as long as you have that live sync on. So that's really cool. That's kind of it. We've set everything up. You're basically to the point where you can always go back to Revit, make your changes, do whatever you want, undo this or that. And it might be that you want to make all these updates and you can continue going back and forth, but really what we've done in this video is look at setting all of this up, because now you have everything working together. You've got the Nucleus set up where all of these parts and pieces of models, whether it's just Revit or Rhino Revit, whatever it is, all of that's going through the Nucleus, and then you can continuously reload that into your Omniverse Create scene, make something nice there, do whatever you want. There's a lot there. You can definitely look forward to a lot more Omniverse videos because, again, this is just a setup. Let me know if you have questions in the comments. Always interested to know, was this well presented? Do you understand? Do you feel like you like the program? Anything like that, leave those in the comments. I'm really curious. And also be sure and check the description for all of the links that we use in this video. You can find those there. They'll be helpful as far as getting you downloaded and getting to learning some extra things. But yes, again, be on the lookout for other Omniverse videos after this. Get everything set up so that you can learn with me, essentially, but in the future when I have more videos coming out on Omniverse. So I hope to see you then. Thank you very much for watching. I know this is kind of a tedious video because we're just setting things up, but that's what it is. If you did happen to learn something, please demolish that like button. It tells me that you might have learned something or that you might have just liked the video. So again, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.